One to this themed talk. A very special welcome to the Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists. It's great to see you again, and I hope that you had a lovely evening yesterday. And also a very special welcome to our audience in the Reservoir Center for Water Solutions in Washington, D.C, who are with us online. My name is Anna Hildell, and I am the host of the session today, How to Build a More Equal, Diverse and Inclusive Workplace and World. On behalf of Xylem, the global founding sponsor of the Stockholm Junior Water Prize, and my 17,000 colleagues around the world, I am extremely proud to be part of this session today. At Xylem, we recognize the power of diverse teams. We know how important diverse perspectives are in our mission to solve water. We wouldn't be the company we are today if it wasn't for diverse perspectives, voices, and opinions at the table. You may have noticed that the title on our screen is slightly different from what's in your agenda. That's because it's all our responsibility, women, men, all genders, to close the gender gap, and we will all stand to benefit. It's very encouraging to see that this year's Stockholm Junior Water Prize final has an equal gender balance. However, what research and working in the water industry tells us is that somewhere along the way, girls take their talent, passion, motivation, and drive to other sectors outside of water. So, during the next hour, we will look deeper into this issue in an interactive session together with you and a panel who is really eager to share their experiences, perspectives, and also learn from you. So to guide us through the session today, I am very pleased to introduce today's moderator, Xanani Baloyi from South Africa. Welcome, Xanani, on stage.
Thank you. Thank you. So could I use the podium?
Thank you so much for moderating this session, Xanani. Xanani is, as I said, based in South Africa. She is the program officer at the Africa Regional Center and the gender equality focal point at SIWI, based in Pretoria. So before we kick off, I just wanted to ask you why this topic is so important to you.
Okay, just setting up my... Yes, so thank you so much, Anna, for the welcome, and thank you to SIWI and Xylem for inviting me to be part of this session. I'm really excited. So yes, to answer the topic of, the question of why this topic is important for me, I'll start off by saying, yes, Anna did say that I'm the gender equality focal point for Stockholm International Water Institute. So in that, I am passionate about water, I'm passionate about women, I'm passionate about transboundary water cooperation. And particularly, I'm part of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network at SIWI, where we've recently just launched the strategy to expand the network from the Nile, Central Asia, and Afghanistan to other river basins on the African continent. But then on a personal level, you asked me why I am passionate about this topic. I grew up in the rural areas of Xanani, a tropical garden small town situated in the Limpopo province of South Africa. And growing up in that area, some opportunities could not be imagined as a possibility for someone coming from that area. It seemed out of reach or even unthinkable that one day I would be awarded a scholarship to study abroad, or maybe I would become a development professional standing on a global platform like this place at the World Water Week. Yes, I worked hard, I dreamt big, but I didn't achieve these things I have solely based on hard work and dreaming. I had support from people who have resources, people that have things that I didn't have, such as information, time, mentorship, and scholarships. I will acknowledge, for example, our school that was able to organize a career fair where I could participate, and opportunities to visit universities so that I could learn about the decision that I was about to make in terms of what to study and where to study. I will also think about or acknowledge the diplomat who I met in a lift of my residence at the University of Pretoria, who became my mentor from then on, because I was studying political sciences and international relations. So what I'm saying is, not everyone has simply had this luck. Yes, I have had luck too that found me prepared, but that preparation wasn't only by brilliance and hard work. It was other people setting me up. It was someone who helped me write my motivation letter for the scholarship application. It was someone who tutored me on philosophy and sociology, as there were new subjects for me that I had not encountered with previously, having coming from high school. And also, it was due to the university professor that has become my referee for job applications till this day. So what am I saying? What I'm saying is basically, it was a series of many things that created privileges which ultimately enabled me to be where I am today. And today, what is the relevance of this? It is the networks that we'll be speaking about today that I can still reach out to for assistance for anything that I may need. So you see, it is not enough that we tell people to work harder. Some already do, but without equal opportunities and access, they cannot escape the odds set up against them. So my call to action is, it is our responsibility through this session, through our work, and in our communities, to afford young people exposure to opportunities through empowering them in the lines of the themes of today's session. Empowering them by building their self-confidence, develop ours and their networks, offering mentorship and scholarship. And lastly, you may ask, what do men have to do with it? Men have to do with it by becoming male champions for gender equality and inclusivity. So I do also recognize you, the men that are here, as gender champions. Thank you, and that was my introduction, sharing of personal story of why this topic is important to me. I would now like to hand over to Washington, where they are also hosting the same session.
Thank you so much, Xanani.
It's a pleasure.
And enjoy the rest of the session.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Maya Satyanathan, the program manager at the Reservoir Center for Water Solutions in Washington, D.C. I'm going to ask the Deputy Chief of Mission. Can you not hear me?
Okay, we're just waiting for Washington to stream through.
Can you hear me, Ellen?
Okay.
Yeah.
Welcome, Washington.
Thank you, Xanani. I'm Maya Satyanathan with the Reservoir Center for Water
We
Solutions.
do not get sound here.
Go ahead, Maya.
Hi, can you hear me? Okay, I'll keep it brief. Good. I'm Maya Satyanathan with the Reservoir Center for Water Solutions in Washington, D.C. I'm going to introduce the Deputy Chief of Mission from the Embassy of Sweden in Washington, Ingrid Ask. Oops.
All right.
Very well. Good morning, Washington. Good afternoon, Stockholm. And thank you for inviting the Embassy of Sweden in Washington to today's event. Thank you for the introduction, Maya. Again, my name is Ingrid. I'm the Deputy Chief of Mission, or Deputy Ambassador, if you so will, at the embassy here in Washington. And it's wonderful to see so many of you here on site in Washington, both in person and of course all of you watching us virtually from my hometown, Stockholm. I'm very impressed really by all the work that is being carried out by the Stockholm International Water Institute, and it's really an honor for me to participate in today's event. And I also want to thank Xilem and Reservoir Center for Water Solutions for hosting this very important conversation on how we can support girls and women to bridge the gap between STEM education to building a career in the water tech industry. And the discussion today will really highlight two main priorities of the Swedish government. And that is, on the one hand, sustainability, and on the other hand, gender equality. And as has been pointed out, those are closely interlinked, and we'll talk so much more about that during today's event.
Maybe just a moment and see if they're able to reconnect.
This summer, this year, the Swedish government hosted a high-level UN meeting to commemorate this 50th anniversary. And the aim was to contribute to accelerating a transformation that leads to sustainable and green economies and more jobs, and of course, a healthy planet for all, where no one is being left behind. Sweden is currently at the beginning of a very exciting green industrial revolution. That's a long-term and ambitious approach in which we aim to become the world's first fossil-free welfare nation and achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions by 2045. So to help us to get there, we have enacted policies to enable companies and industries to contribute to the green transition. Thousands of jobs are being created through investments in battery factories, green mining, and fossil-free steel production. And as a result, we see that areas and communities that were previously struggling with unemployment and depopulation, not the least in the north of Sweden, are now instead focusing on how to build housing infrastructure, schools quick enough to meet new demands and development. It's really an extremely exciting process that we see happening right now in Sweden, many parts of Sweden. We have also proven that it is possible to combine reduced emissions with economic growth. And this is a lesson learned that we want to also show other countries in the world. And that going green is the path to create sustainable growth and jobs and prosperity for all. But of course, we are still far from reaching our goals, and no country can solve the global climate crisis alone, as we are acutely aware. It's crucial that we have global frameworks in place to solve the challenges that we face, well, such as the Paris Agreement, and of course, the very important Sustainable Development Goals. The world, as we can see every day, is currently at the crossroad, experiencing more heat waves, water scarcity, droughts, storms, floods, as we're seeing right now in other parts of the world, rising sea levels, warming oceans. And to link it back directly to today's topic, the challenge of climate change is closely related to water and water management. As you know, Sweden has a very long coastline, one of the longest in Europe, as a matter of fact, and a strong tradition of maritime activities. And a healthy sea is important for our people and our economy. Water is not only home to many animals and plants, but it's also our most From now, international waters could also become home to new industries and activities. But to create a sustainable blue economy and ensure a resilient world for future generations, we need well-managed and stable ecosystems. Sweden has taken a leading role in implementing the sustainable development goals that I mentioned. Among them, goal number 14, I think many of you are aware of that goal, focusing on conserving oceans, seas, and marine resources. Also, although only 3% of all the world's water, fresh water is an important connector between the different SDGs development goals. More than 1 billion people today lack access to clean drinking water, and 2 billion lack adequate sanitation. And this lack of fresh water is one of the most urgent environmental and development issues of the 21st century. We believe a holistic approach to water management is key to achieving Agenda 2030 successfully. Part of this agenda is to secure a workforce for water and to make use of innovation and technology so that we extract the benefits from the sea without overutilizing it. And this is where the importance of building pipelines for women in STEM comes in. Women are underrepresented clearly in this sector. The World Bank has found that less than 20% of water workers are women, and that women face gender-specific barriers to joining and to staying and growing in the sector, such as lack of role models. I think you all play a very important role here, but also harassment and gender norms also in the sector. And we are yet to realize the benefits from women's contributions and to invest adequately in their skills and talents in this field. Not until we do that, the world will be able to reach its commitment on water and sanitation for all, including to the World Bank. The underrepresentation of women also hampers growth in the global economy. According to the European Institute for Gender Equality, closing the gender gap in STEM would contribute to a 2.2%, more or less, increase in GDP per capita in the EU by 2015. So there is also 2050, I should say. So there is also a very strong economic incentive here. And that is why events such as this one are so important, and why Sweden has placed gender equality at the center of our both domestic and international work in so many different fields. And I look forward to learning from today's speakers, both here and in Stockholm, and their insights on how to get more women and girls into the water technology sector. And thanks again, all of you, for joining us today, and I hope you will enjoy the conversation. Thanks so much.
Hello, thank you again. I wanted to show the audience in DC really quick, since we got to see Stockholm. Hopefully you can say hi to everyone.
Thank you so much. Maya, everybody's waving here too. I hope you can see it.
Great, thank you. I think at this point we will go offline and start our in-person program in DC. Bye.
Bye. Okay, that was really nice being able to connect with our colleagues in DC who are also running a parallel session like us. So yeah, I think we can proceed with our session where we will now just have a look at some of the facts that we have around before we get to our theme talk discussions where we'll be in breakout sessions. So yes, thank you again, Anna, for the opportunity. Yes, and then getting back to the topic is gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for peace, for peaceful and a prosperous, sustainable world. There has been progress, as we know, over the last decades, where more girls are going to school, fewer girls are forced into early marriages, and more women are serving in parliament and positions of leadership, and laws are being reformed against gender equality. Gender equality. Despite these gains, though, the many challenges remain, and that is why one of the reasons throughout the week we've seen different initiatives from women in the Stockholm World Water Week, where we're trying to elevate gender equality. And also particularly, as we've heard also from Washington, is that there is less representation in the STEM field. And now the Stockholm Junior Water finalists, you are all in the STEM field with the projects that you've been presenting to us. And we wish for you to actually stay in the field and be the ones that fill the gap. And we believe that you have the power to do that and make a difference in the future of work. Based on 2020 trends, the global gender gap was not expected to be closed for another 100 years. Sadly, due to the COVID-19 pandemic on working women, the effect has been so great, and the latest World Economic Forum report estimates that it will take another 136 years to fulfill that gap. As already mentioned, gender equality is a necessary foundation for a prosperous world. The question, though, that we have for all of us here is how are companies impacted by their own culture and policies regarding gender equality? Businesses and non-profits that actively support gender equality make better business decisions, that's according to the studies, and ultimately more money. Research currently shows us that inclusive teams make better business decisions of up to 87% of the time, and the teams with less diversity make likely more poor decisions in their companies. So from this, we can say that gender equality seems like a good business strategy. And I back this up with a study from McKinsey & Company, which analyzed more than 1,000 companies worldwide, and it proved that organizations with greater diversity among them and their executive teams tend to have higher profits and longer-term value as well as compared to companies that have less diversity. And let's look at it in more clarity. So there's currently 50% in the world with women in technology. And when we look at it from the STEM workforce, women only make up 40%. And also, when we look at female researchers globally, we can only account for about 30%. That is according to an article by UNESCO. And then when you look at the women in water and sanitation utilities in our sector, there's only 18% at the moment. And sadly, there's only 3% as well from female Nobel Prize laureates in science. And when they do get awarded, they are also awarded with male partners. Not very impressive. And then also, looking at this slide of opportunities ahead for women in STEM, it says that women are more likely to quit their tech jobs. And also, equality decreases in the rise in seniority. And then we also experience that girls are less likely to study STEM subjects both at high school and university. The statistic tells us that the real opportunity ahead for women in STEM and science is actually quite great. Girls are less likely to study STEM, as I've already indicated, as compared to boys. Well, according to research, there is 83% of boys in high school that opt for STEM subjects. And then you ask yourself, where are the girl children? Well, there's only 64% of girls who opt for STEM subjects. The same gender disparity is evident also at university level, where 52% of males take STEM-related courses. And this has there's a contrast of only about 30% of females that take up the courses at university level. And the gap actually gets even wider when it comes to courses like engineering. 13% of the surveyed male university students were taking engineering courses, as compared to just only 2% of the female university students taking the same course. That's according to a report by PwC. There's currently more than 2/3 of females that do not consider a career in the technology sector. And then also, women only hold 1/4 of the jobs in technology industry in the US. And this is despite women making up almost half the total workforce, according to the study of Aveda IT. And then just to give you more information, there's only 30% of female students who select STEM-related fields only in higher education. Should I just maybe go back? And then also just to bring it to context to the World Water Week, in the water sector and the water utilities, the Breaking Barriers report indicates that water and sanitation and utilities only account for 18% of women. And also to emphasize what we've already said is that women are less attracted to water sector and are recruited also at lower rates when they are recruited in the water sector. So basically, we get an idea that women also face more hurdles actually in terms of the retention, and often there's fewer opportunities for women who are already in the water sector for them to advance their careers. And with these statistics, we have put together a team of a panel who are in the sector working in STEM, water, energy, and also mathematics. And I would like now to move on to the next part of the presentations, where I am going to invite our presenters. Would you kindly take up the stage, the panel, then I'll make the introductions. Yes, I would like to start with my former colleague, Kanika Taka. So Kanika is a Canadian currently based in Sweden, Stockholm, where she supports the Swedish Red Cross border and cross management by improving their environmental impact in humanitarian response and development activities as an advisor. I would also like to mention, quite interesting, that Kanika was a gender equality focal point for SIWI, and I currently have taken up the position since she has moved on to greener pastures, if I should say. So Kanika, I know that you had some first-hand experience that inspired you and your passion for gender equality and water. I would like to invite you to share some of these experiences with our participants today, and also tell me how this relates to the themes that we are discussing today. How have those experiences boosted your self-confidence, both at work, but then also outside of work?
Thanks, Xanani, and I'm really honored to be sitting here with the great panel, but also with all of you. I mean, I love the Stockholm Junior Water Prize. I think what you all do is just beyond fantastic. But I'll be really honest with you. You know, when I was your age, I really didn't care about gender equality, and I thought feminism was a bad word. And I thought, ugh, you know, who cares? Because I hadn't experienced it. And for many of you, you probably haven't experienced it yet, but you might in the future. And I think that's what, you know, all these statistics and things, that's what it's telling us. And for my own experience, so I work as a humanitarian aid worker. It means that, you know, I fly into disasters. If there's a earthquake that happens, so last year this time I was supposed to be here with you. I've had to fly to Haiti to help recover from an earthquake. I will, you know, help mass population movements that happen as a result of genocide. I mean, these are really cool things to do, But when I walk into a room, I'm often the only woman there. And that's really sad, because just like Xanani has been saying, and Anna was saying as well, we make better decisions when there's more of us together. And it's oftentimes when I walk into, into these communities, when I'm working with these communities, it's not the men who come and tell me that there's a problem, that they don't have an issue with or that they have an issue with toilets. It's the women. The women are the ones who are advocating the most for their families, for themselves. They don't have a problem with telling you, I don't have access to a toilet. They will come and tell you that. But yet when we have to go and do the hard work of making decisions and designing things, we've excluded them. And I think when it comes to your question of, self-confidence, that's what I'm building on. I've realized that I have to be that advocate for those women, that I have to bring what we often call the soft skills into the WASH sector. I am not an engineer. I have a master's degree in integrated water resources management, which looks at the softer side of water. And so that means, how do we talk to people? How do we bring them into a conversation? How do we think about things like hygiene promotion? And I think that those are the things that we really forget about when it comes to what we need to have in that conversation. So don't think that you have to go out there and get that, really hard engineering degree. You can bring something else to that conversation, and we need more of that. I was just actually speaking to Hannah about this from Xylem, that there needs to be more, and Xylem is going to do some of that work in terms of how can we bring more of those other sides of things into that work, and you need to advocate for that. And I will wrap up, because I know I don't have so much time, there's so much else to say, but I also want to say, as you were saying, Xanani, it doesn't come from me alone. It comes very much from the partners that I have around me. This right here, this big belly on me, a lot of people kind of consider that, this is a game changer, this could be a career ender for me. But I have a really supportive partner who's going to help me get through there. I have a great boss who's going to help me as well. So I think that those are some of the challenges that we see for women, that we have to make sure that we have men who help us do that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Kanika, for that inspiring talk. And yes, I'm really happy that you are putting women's advancement central to the way we deliver aid and development. And I would like to move on to my next speaker. Oh, yeah, you already have a mic. Yes. Shohida Telueva, I am really liking your profile here, because you are working at basin level, where we are working as well as SIWI colleagues. And I can tell you that sometimes when we've walked into negotiation rooms, in fact, this is a personal example of mine with my former manager, who's a woman, and when we got to the table, they asked us, so where are the men from Stockholm to discuss with? So you can imagine how at that point you feel like, do I continue? And I was still quite early in my career. So I would be very interested to hear from you, from the basin level, river basin organization level, what the experiences have been like. So Ms. Telueva is a senior project officer for basin management and focal point on gender and social equality in the National Project Water Resources Management in Tajikistan, which aims to support the Tajikistan water sector reform program. So, yes, I would like to hear from you. While working on the transboundary water governance at river basin level, on the African continent, like I've just said, I found that there are few women in the delegations and negotiations. So what has been your experience like? What is the Tajikistan experience in comparison to what I have experienced at the areas that I am working in?
Many thanks. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for these opportunities, and I'm so happy to be here as a speaker, because just 5 years ago, I have been here and participated in the World Water Week and presented a Central Asian Youth Network. And today I am speaking to you also as a member for Women in Water Diplomacy Network now in Central Asia just 1 year ago established this network and supported by SIWI, OEC and CAREC. And here my colleagues who is from network, please raise your hand. Thank you for your active participation. The question that you mentioned is highly important for Tajikistan. First of all, I would like to highlight that there are no legal barriers to women's participation in water management in Tajikistan. The government of Tajikistan demonstrates the will to engage more women. We can see this message from the very high level. Yeah. However, when it comes to the implementation, we can see the similar situation in Tajikistan to Africa. Yeah. Women are underrepresented in the water management at all levels. I have experience at the local level with communities, water users, with water user associations. For example, we have more than 400 water user associations in Tajikistan, and only 10 or 15 women are headed of by women. Due to a high level of labor migration from Tajikistan, men leave the rural area, and women have to take care of farmers. They are now manage farms and manage water management. In 2018 and 2021, we conducted field research within the framework in our project, National Water Resource Management, in Tajik part of Sirdarya. If you know, Sirdarya, it's Transbonder River, and we used, Uzbekistan also used, Kyrgyzstan, and now. But our project only worked at the Tajik part of Sirdarya. This project implementing by our organization, HELT, is financed by SDC. And we conducted research among women and men water users, and more than 600 females, men are participated in this survey. Yeah? And if we found, we asked them why women are not active participate. Why women not participation in the decision-making process? And we found that the main reasons are, here it's first, it's culture, culture aspects and mentality. The traditional gender roles and stereotypes in Tajik families still persist. Women are expected to be housewife and take care of kids and family members. Yeah. Second is so very important point. It's about education. Because more women don't have education in the water sector, in agriculture, and they don't have a confidence of and ambitions to participate in the decision-making process.
So Shahida, I'm not cutting you off, but then I'll just like to hold it there, and I would like to encourage that as soon as we start in the next discussion point, you build on the education, the importance of education, and expand a little bit more with the finalists on why it is then important for you to be part of the women network. Why was it important for you in Tajikistan? And you just mentioned now here in Stockholm that you're part of the Women in Water Diplomacy Network. So I'd like for you to expand on that in the, is that okay?
Okay.
During the breakout session. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I would just like for us to finish off the introductions here, and then we take the conversations to the breakout session in more detail. So I would like to move on to Vikram Nanwani, the role of male allies. So he's a gender equality champion, I would regard him. And he's a vice president of product management in dewatering. In his role, he is responsible for leading teams that manages the life cycle of our dewatering range of products and services, including rental, to ensure we provide leading support and solutions to our customers and partners. He is currently based in Stockholm, Sweden, and I have had the opportunity of being in some sessions in the past with Vikram, and I'm really excited to have you here today. And also, as you introduce yourself, I would like to find out that as a global business leader with a long career and a male perspective, what story from your life comes to mind in relation to the role of male allies in the gender equality discussions?
Okay. Well, thank you, Xanani, and it's a real honor and pleasure to be here. The story that comes to mind is when I moved with Xylem to India for 3 years, and my role there was to set up a technology center with 200 new engineers. And I remember thinking at the time, got a unique opportunity here to make a change around gender perception, closing the gender gap. I also remember thinking, I don't know how to do this, and I got myself some mentors, male and female. But it was through that experience that I realized, I think consciously for the first time, that through some accidents of birth, upbringing, things I didn't control, I've got a set of privileges. And whilst I can't control those, what I can control and choose is what I do with them. And so I set about, I think there really, my journey started as a male ally, and took that opportunity to drive that change, whether it be through working with NGOs, advocacy, policies, how we hired, how we selected people. And I'd love to talk a lot more about that, but we can do that in the sessions later. But a couple of things that I did want to share is a few learnings from that experience that might be useful, especially for the younger male allies here. One is to just listen, empathize, with humility, with an open mind. It's only by understanding that we can really support and make a change. Secondly is that we all have biases, and it's important to understand those, especially your own, and how to manage them. And I guess thirdly, last but not least, if we really want to make a change in this area, if we're serious about it, it's not enough to not do the wrong things. We need to actively do the right things. Take action. Can be small, can be big, but only by all of us actually taking those steps do I believe we'll really drive the change and drive it at the speed that it deserves and needs.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much, Vikram. Okay, and last but not least, we're going to move on to Jennifer Stephens, Director of Strategy and Marketing at SIWI in North America. In her role, she works to enable utilities in their journey of modernization and transformation through flexible and validated analytics, software, and professional service. You can ask her more about her interesting role during the breakout sessions. But then, Jennifer, I have a question for you, and I think our finalists will also appreciate this. Through your work with utilities around the world, you work with them through, to take them through modernization and transformation. What would be the importance of mentorship and sponsorship that can prepare these young people to work in an environment full of high-tech innovations?
Yeah, no, thank you very much for the question and for the opportunity to be here and share with you. There are only 6 countries in the world that guarantee equal working rights for men and women, right? Sweden is one of them. The United States is not, which kind of shocked me. But that emphasizes the need for male allies, such as Vikram, right, and many of our coworkers, as well as having other persons that are going to guide you along this path, right? A mentor, I think Oprah says, right, a mentor is someone who sees hope in you that you don't see in yourself, right, and they draw out that hope. A mentor is not someone to lead you and pull you along, but they're there to walk alongside you and hold you in case you trip or fall. A mentor is a ear to listen to you, and a brain to pick, and a kick in the backside when you need it, right? So finding a mentor, how do you do this? It's difficult, right? It's not like there's just people walking around with pick me to be your mentor sign. But I would encourage you to ask. If there's someone that has empowered you or someone who has impressed you in the work that they're doing, approach them, right? Whether it's a male or female, the majority of my mentors have been male, but don't be afraid to approach and say, will you help me on this journey, right? Will you guide me to reach my aspirations? And more often than not, you're going to get a yes. You're going to get a yes. We want to be there for you. So I'm sure any one of us on stage, and if any of your, right, with the SWJP, did I get the acronym right? Right? SJWP. Any of the advisors that you've been working with back home or here this week would be thrilled to continue conversations with you and to see you grow.
Yep. Thank you so much, Jennifer. And with that, I would actually like now to invite us to the breakout sessions. So during the breakout sessions, we'll have an opportunity, especially the Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists, you'll have an opportunity to ask the panel any questions you might have and to dive deeper into the themes that they are representing here. So there's the theme of building self-confidence, and there's the theme of developing your network, which Shohida will be happy to expand more into during the session, and the importance of mentorship and the role of male allies. So I would like to now invite you all. You've already been assigned the way you've been seated, and then to ensure that you ask as many questions as you would like, we would divide you into 8 groups that would rotate between the breakout tables. All participants will get to meet the 4 panelists and the 4 additional roundtable attendees or facilitators that we have as part of our session, which I will introduce shortly. For the first breakout session, do nothing, sit where you are, stay at your table, and wait for the table facilitator to come to you. Each session will be 10 minutes, including the time to move around to the next table. Think of this as a speed dating. After the 4 sessions, I will be back on stage to share some of the highlights and the aha moments that I will be collecting from the facilitators during the conversations. And because it's such a big group, we will not be able to do this all by ourselves. We've got our colleagues that are joining us as facilitators who will assist with the facilitation from the panel members here. First, I would like to introduce Hannah. You may raise your hand where you are. Hannah Albach, I hope I pronounced your surname correctly. She's a program manager at Xylem. And I would like to now introduce Sivan Shelter, please forgive me, founder, principal out of the Blue Solutions. Can you please indicate where you are seated? Thank you. And then I would also like to introduce Jonas Romfeld, Director for Water Infrastructure, Research and Development at Xylem. Thank you. And I would also like to introduce my colleague, Isabel Alvarez Murillo. She's in the WASH department at SIWI. Please indicate. Thank you so much, Isabel. And then lastly, I would like to introduce Alexandra Hahn, Market and Technical Manager at Xylem Sweden. Where are you seated? Thank you so much. So yes, I would, as the instructions were, you sit where you are, and then the facilitators will be coming to your tables. And also, we do acknowledge that we've got guests that are here who are not part of the Stockholm Junior Water Prize finalists, of course. We encourage you to also discuss within the groups that you are seated in. You can rope in any one of the facilitators to just maybe tell you in detail the themes that we'll be discussing. But then we'd really like to just dedicate this moment mainly for our finalists so that they can get more information out of our panelists and the facilitators that are already on the floor. Thank you so much. I'll be back on stage when it's time to report back.
Can I speak? Hi, everyone online. This is Ella. I'm here with my colleague, Alexander. We're in the room in Stockholm.
Hello.
So anyone who wants to have a conversation about any of the themes with both of us, please do let me know. If you want to come on camera, that would be great. If not, that's fine as well. Or if you don't feel comfortable speaking up, you can also pose any questions in the chat as well, if that's more comfortable for you. Alexander, what did you think of our panel? Is there anything that you want to share with the team here on the call that really stood out for you?
Yes. So my name is Alexander. I am a market and technical manager in Xylem for a total of 25 years in and out of the company. My biggest experience is that I lived in Asia for this is how this is getting so much echo.
Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you, Alexander. Yeah, I think one thing that stood out for me as well, and you might want to comment on that, is when Vikram said, listen, as a male ally, right? And I've experienced that often as a woman in my career. I've always worked in technology companies, but I've always worked in marketing, and marketing, obviously, there's often more women than men. But since it was always technology companies, often you're in a meeting room, and often men would speak up more often. And so I really thought that when Vikram said, listen as the male ally, take your time before you answer, check if someone else in the room wants to give an answer. And I think that that's really important. So anyone who's with us on this online session, really appreciate you staying on. But in my career, and me as a woman, often in rooms where I was maybe the only woman, do stand up for yourself, raise your voice, not in a disruptive manner, everybody has their voice to share, and really build that self-confidence in yourself. I also liked what Jennifer said, is really around you know, speaking up and you know, moving, showing yourself out there, right? And ask others to help. Mentorship, ask questions. There's absolutely nothing wrong with speaking up and asking someone to help you along the way. And I've done that as well quite a lot, even in these technology companies that I just referred to. So, but enough from us. Alexander, what do you think? I'd like to hear some questions from the audience that is with us here online. And as I said, you don't have to come please post any questions in the chat. Don't be shy. We're here for you.
Don't forget to unmute yourself if you want to say something.
Alexander, do you have any question maybe? Oh, so I just heard from the system administrator that you actually cannot go off mute. So yeah, then please, obviously then we have the chat for any questions. And Emily, may I ask you, if you say Pathable, does that mean I need to go out of Zoom but look at the Pathable platform? All right, now I see the Pathable chat. I'm so sorry about this. All right, no questions there either. So do post any chat questions for us. So Alexander, what I find interesting, you grew up with an engineering background with only brothers. I actually grew up with my marketing, but with only sisters. So that's really interesting. And I think when you grow up with two other sisters, you really have to try and make yourself heard as well. So that was interesting. How was that with your brothers?
It's good, but there's a lot of kind of alpha males.
Okay,
Big
interesting.
guys. But I think it was Helen Kasuja Nakawa had the question. She raised her hand.
Okay.
Was there a question? Saw the hand coming up.
Okay, no, and Emily is saying that she's happy to also post any questions here. So Emily, yeah, that would be great. So if anybody has any questions, post them in the Pathable chat, please. And I know this isn't ideal, but it's in today's live of webinars and Pathable platforms, we're trying our best to really be connected for everyone who wasn't able to make it to Stockholm, which we fully understand. All right, then actually, if there's no other questions, Alexander, I think we can actually close this session and see if we can join some people in the room here that might have some questions. Would that be okay with everyone? Or let us know in the chat if there is something you want to hear about.
Be interesting to hear if all your participants, do you feel that you have the opportunity to grow within the STEM sector in your country, or do you feel there are limitations, or you need to find scholarships? What would help you to find your way?
Emily, thank you so much for all your help here.
Okay, here we got some question from. Oh, it's this one comment.
All right. Okay, so this is from Kizito. You want to read it, Alexander? I see it as well here.
From Uganda, which is great. I have an uncle who was a election for UN. He had the election last year or 2 years ago. Yeah, mentorship program is of course a great way of giving role models to women coming up. And sometimes my experience of working in emerging markets is that sometimes changes goes faster. Actually, you can, whether it's IT or gender equality, you can jump one generation, I want to say. When I worked in China, it was, yes, there was some patriarchal structure from the Confucian way, but there was also a complete acceptance for female leaders. And I know that for Xylem, the president China is a lady, the marketing director is a lady. So there's big female leaders in also these kind of yeah, traditionally more patriarchal cultures. So
yes,
the
certainly
way
you see the change, right? When you see those stories, I think that's really interesting. And Xavier, thank you for that comment. I really think mentorship is a really important part of bringing more women into the water industry. We kicked off a project actually on Sunday, which is the Water Women project, where we're making a whole research about the water industry and how we get more women into the industry. But I believe not just women, I believe this industry is also lacking youth. So I do hope with all the Stockholm Junior Water Prize participants in this room and also on the chat here, that we can also bring more youth into the industry, because that is also part of our diversity, equity, and inclusion, to look at it from all aspects, right? Not just gender parity, but really bring in different generations, different cultures. And I think that brings a company a long way with that kind of change. Thank you for that, Kizito. Any other questions here? Do you see anything else, like Alexander? I don't think so, right?
I think I just want to send a message that working with water is also something that it's good values. It's nice to go to the office. You know that you're working to make a difference for the future, and knowing that you're part of companies that wants to be modern, drives change, and make the world a better place every day. It's a good feeling. It's important.
All right, Alexander, I think if there's not more questions here. Oh, Kizito said, and yeah, so Kizito said that they had a study that indicated the last 4 years, a declining representation of women in top management position within the water and environmental sector, from 23% in 14 to 15% in 17. Wow, that is really sad to hear. What was the study about? Is it
was it in Uganda, or was it in the global? It's also a big shift in 3 years.
Yeah,
if it will be global. If I don't know where was this representation based on the why did be such a drop? globally, I can't imagine.
I do know at Xylem, we are at 25% of women in leadership positions. And
Okay.
by 2030, we want to achieve 50%.
So here's another question: is how best can we try to interest women right from colleges? Okay.
It was a Ugandan study. Yeah, how best can we try to interest women right from colleges? I think we need to create environments in companies that make women feel comfortable joining that company and do employer branding for that company. Those are things such as, first of all, safety to get to work. So allow transport, flexible working hours, right? Safety goes a long way. If you have to work really, let's say 10 in the evening for certain things, and then you go on public transport and you don't feel safe as a woman. Another way of creating a safe space for women to work. And then also at the offices, create childcare programs, flexible working times. When we just saw Kanika on stage, pregnant, she has all the support she needs to really go through this part in her life. So those are ways how we can interest more women to come into our industry from colleges, is creating a safe and welcoming environment for them, and have flexible management when it comes to pregnancies and pregnancy leave. And I think that's really the way forward to get more women interested to join the industry. I hope that answered your question. Anything you want to add there, Alexander?
I think that creating a starting position, writing their thesis, internships in summer for women. And we speak a lot in Sweden about, in the silent Sweden I work, we talk about psychological safety. So it's that women feel also psychological safe in the workplace. If it tends to be, especially if it tends to be a male dominant workplace, we need to work with ourselves to understand, is there different for women, for men, on how they want to, where they want to work. I know in many cultures, maybe you're not comfortable to work when there's 90% men. It could be. I have a service organization. We have 135 people. We have one woman who is a service technician and one service leader. How can I change that? And then that's working with ourselves and changing our biases. So yeah, role models. We actively bring in female role models. That's really important to attract other women to come. I can say I started say we were three boys in the family. Why do I do mechanical engineering? My brother did it, so I thought, okay, I'll do it too. It seems to be a good way. So role models makes a big difference. And gender shouldn't matter. Just be a role model, be good.
Absolutely. Right, any more questions? A few. All right, so Alexander, I'll suggest if there is no more questions from the team online, We'll just see if there's more questions here in the room. Thank you everyone for joining us online. And do reach out to us if you'd like to come and see us at Xylem, and maybe, you know, join us in a scholarship or something like that. Happy to talk to any one of you. And thank you, Emily, for all your help with the questions.
Thank you.
Bye.
Sorry to cut you short. I can see that the conversations are just going on, and I have been enjoying taking turns, listening in on what's being discussed. But then my first impressions, to be honest with you, you are very smart finalists, because I think maybe there's a perception that we expect to hear you guys talk more about technical things about your projects, what it does and stuff like that. But then I'm very impressed, like you speaking about social issues with so much confidence, and you are very much aware of the things that are happening in the world. So I've jotted down a few notes which I will hand over to the organizers, who will put them into categories according to the themes that we're discussing. But then maybe just to say a few things that I can remember is that you guys, you actually judge us first before you judge the rest of the world. So they actually look at our companies and they ask us, how many women does your company have? So that is something to reflect on, us as the organizers, to also make sure that our house is in order as we preach and advocate for gender equality outside there. So thank you so much for whoever that said that, as I picked it up and saw it as a trend. And then I also noted that male students already notice some of their female fellow students in high school, that they may be quite shy and they feel the responsibility to assist. But then I also learned that someone saying, just because someone is not talkative in class doesn't mean they're not smart. So as much as you may want to maybe push the girl to like maybe build their confidence, it's not always the case that they need to be pushed, because we're not all gonna be talkative. So being quiet is not always the measure of maybe someone is not smart enough, or maybe they're not confident. They may just not talk as much as you do. Yep. And then also I found something interesting here about studying when to start building the networks, that you don't have to wait until you start using LinkedIn. It can happen on WhatsApp, it can happen on Instagram, and it can happen with whatever. I think now you use TikTok. Yes, so of course these platforms can also have negative effects, so it's really important that you navigate them within a safe space, and I think that's where also the role of older siblings and parents come in, to make sure that, we kind of control, because there's also negative people on these platforms. But yes, hold on to your networks, start on WhatsApp and LinkedIn, and before you even get to LinkedIn, on your social platforms. Don't wait for the professional platforms only. And then another important one is that you indicated that what do you regard as mentorship and support? You indicated that you're not only looking for support in your academic work or studies. A lot of you also spoke about emotional support. So that is also very important, that as we tend to become your mentors, we not only support you in terms of your careers, but then there's a important component, which is emotional support, which if you don't get right, every other part of your life actually does fall apart. So calling on all the parents and the supporters here to also emphasize on emotional support. And then also for the male champions, some of them don't know actually how to support gender equality. They ask themselves, am I as a male or the woman, are they gonna be the change maker? And then there was a comment from one of you that said, but support goes beyond just saying that I support this person. So you need to also take action. This actually came from someone here, that I feel that it's beyond just saying I support women, but I need to do something about it. So the responsibility of taking action. And then there was also another interesting one, that women, or you ladies here, have indicated how the use of clothes is actually a powerful tool. Someone said that they were inspired by someone who pushed them to buy a suit which is very bold in color. And after wearing that suit and having the push from that person, they felt very different. So it's interesting that we not only use words or formal gatherings like this, but it's also through the clothes that you wear. So I think it goes back to wear something that you're very comfortable in. And I always say, sometimes when I'm nervous about work that I'm doing, or maybe when I'm presenting, I always say, at least let me try and look good, because I think I'll get the motivation from that, even if I don't do so well. So yeah, I actually have a lot of things to say, but then I'm gonna hand over to Anna so that she wraps up, and we will collate all of this input that we've received. Very impressive. I have actually learned so much from you guys, and I think maybe one important one that I picked up before I go down the stage is that you guys already identify yourself as mentors. Like you say, you want to mentor other people who are coming behind you. So it's really impressive that we brought you here and thought, okay, let's help you build your networks and get mentors. But it's really impressive that you have already identified or see yourselves as mentors. So you are going back to your countries to become mentors to the classes and the grades that are behind you, to your siblings, to the younger people, to the younger neighbors that you have in your communities. So really, I'm actually inspired by you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Xanani. Maybe, is this on? Yeah, good. So with that, we are at the end of this session. I just want to thank each and every one of you for participating, all the juniors, the panel, Xanani for moderating this session, the additional table facilitators. So everyone, thank you so much, and stay curious, and we'll see you soon.